The latest Pokemon TCG expansion, Destined Rivals, definitely introduced a lot of new archetypes into the Pokemon TCG, and we are just around the corner from the NAIC of 2025, the North American International Championships, the largest Pokemon TCG tournament of the year, every year on record for the last few years. And with that, let's dive into some new Pokemon TCG deck lists. Today I'm taking a look at Cynthia's Garchomp EX. This thing is a behemoth with 330 HP with two different attacks. The first attack allows you to do 100 damage and draw until you have 6 cards in hands, reminiscent of Lucario EX from Furious Fists. Additionally, the second attack for 2 energy does 260 damage but requires you to discard all of the energy on Garchomp. This can be supplemented by increasing the attack power with Cynthia's Roserade. For every one of these in play, your attacks on your Cynthia's Pokemon do 30 more damage. Additionally, Cynthia's Power Weight, a new tool card in Destined Rivals, gives all of your Cynthia's Pokemon 70 HP when it's attached to them. With low energy costs, high damage output thanks to the Roserade, and a tanky HP, I think Cynthia's Garchomp is overslept on in the new metagame. Alright, now let's get into this deck profile. Of course, in this list, we're rocking 3 of the Garchomp EX, 330 HP with 2 attacks, Corkscrew Dive for 100, and you may draw until you have 6 cards in your hand, which feels pretty good for a single energy. And we have Draconic Buster for 260, discard all energy from this Pokemon. So effectively, we are playing a 4-4-3 line. We've got 4 of the Gibble with Rock Hurl, which is an effective resistance. It does 20 damage. And then we have 4 copies of Gabite with the Champion's Call, which lets you search for a Cynthia's Pokemon once per turn. And then for 1 single fighting energy, it has Dragon Slice and does 40. So like I said, we're playing a 4-4-3 line, heavier on the Gabite, less on rare candies. That way we can just use the Gabite's ability. I'm then rocking a 3-3 line of Cynthia's Roserade with the ability Cheer On to Glory. Attacks used by Cynthia's Pokemon do 30 more damage to your opponent's active Pokemon before applying weakness and resistance. We're never going to attack with either of these unless we're absolutely desperate, and we can use a Spike Sting for 20 in some situations. But yeah, we're going to rock that there. And the last Cynthia's Pokemon in here is, of course, a Spiritomb with the attack Raging Curse. It does 10x for every damage counter on all of your benched Cynthia's Pokemon. This attack is not affected by weakness. So they already have 330 HP on the Garchomp, which is on the larger side. But when we get to the tool cards and we talk about the power weight, that's where this Spiritomb really comes in the clutch. And the last 2 Pokemon here are just for some support. We've got Shaman with Flower Curtain to protect our non-rule box Pokemon on the bench from damage. And I've got a single copy of Fez in here for Flip the Script. And yes, I know this is a Japanese card. I have so many decks built that I bought a couple Japanese Fezandipities for like 50 cents a piece as like proxies effectively. But yes, when I play in tournaments, I will swap these around with my English copies. I know you can't do it, but this is just for fun. We play these decks for fun, so get over yourselves. Into the supporter lineup, I'm rocking 4 copies of Arbin to find a tool and an item card, 3 copies of Iono. We've got 2 copies of Boss's Orders for some gusting, and we've got a single copy of Professor's Research for your hand to be reset. Now, when it comes to the Cynthia stuff, there isn't a supporter. And they could have just reprinted Cynthia, and I think a lot of us would have been happy, shuffle, draw 6, but they didn't do that. So we're just playing generic supporters. Arven's really the best one for this list to help get set up. And once you get into some good bites, you're definitely smooth sailing. I'm rocking 4 Buddy Buddy Poffin to find Pokemon with 70 HP or less, and then 2 copies of Ultra Ball to, if we're in a desperate pinch, maybe grab Fez or Shaman, since you can't grab them with Buddy Buddy Poffin, and you can't search for them with Gabite either. I've got 1 copy of Rare Candy. Like I said, we're going to go heavier into the Gabite and evolve into them and search the cards out that way. So just 1 Rare Candy, even though we're playing 3 Stage 2s. We've got 2 copies of Pokegear to help find supporters. They're just really important to setting up. I've got 1 Counter Catcher as a secondary gusting, Earthen Vessel to find some energy, a Night Stretcher, and a Super Rod for some recursion. I could play 2 Night Treacher, but I think Super Rod's really good here because it puts the energy back in the deck so you can Vessel again, or not again, but if you need to Vessel later in the game and you didn't find it earlier on, and also because Gabite only searches from the deck. I want multiple pieces maybe, then this is where it's at. And then the last thing in here is the Unfair Stamp for some comeback potential. For stadiums, I'm rocking 1 Artisan and 2 copies of Team Rocket's Watchtower. Ultimately, Terrabox is still a menace. Pidgeotto, Pidgeot, the Dunsparce, all those things get shut off by Watchtower as well as Noctowl. So we're going to rock these and hopefully slow down their game a little bit so we can, this is a slower build-up kind of thing. And then into the tool cards, I've got 2 copies of Technical Machine Evolution. We're going to use those to cheat up into the Gabites, and then next turn start exploding with that searching power. And then we've got 4 copies of Cynthia's Power Weight. The Cynthia's Pokemon this is attached to gets 70 more HP. So effectively, we look at Roserade, it goes to 200 on a single prize, 140 on Roselia, 400 on Garchomp, 170 on Gabite, and 140 on Gibble. So they all become quite tanky, and again, with the Shaman in the list, your bench Pokemon are definitely not getting sniped if they've got power weights. And the last tool in here is a single rescue board for some pivots. Garchomp itself has free retreat, but then literally everything else in the deck has a single retreat cost, so effectively making that free. And then finally, 6 copies of basic fighting energy. Nothing too crazy here. You're, for the most part, really just going to attempt to corkscrew dive early on, set up a couple Garchomps, and then get them each with 1 energy, and then when you need to, Draconic Buster for 260, or, 290, 310, 340, if need be. But this is the list that I've been rocking. If you found this entertaining, fun, informative, helpful whatsoever, helping you build out Cynthia's Garchomp, let me know down below in the comments. And of course, like the video, comment, and subscribe. It really does support the channel. Of course, become a channel member. That also helps support me making these deck profiles. Once again, glad to be back doing these, so hopefully you enjoy them with a different little intro take as we're used to. But hopefully, I'll see you guys in the next video. Much love, and peace out.